So we all know life can throw some pretty tough stuff our way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, how do we deal with those curveballs? And not just get through them, but actually, kind of use those experiences to learn and grow from. That's what we're going to dive into today.
Makes sense.
We're using this resource called Cultivating Resilience, Faith, Mindset, and Action to kind of ground us. And what's interesting is it doesn't say, like, you either got resilience or you don't.
Right.
It says it's something that we can, like, actively develop.
I like that.
Yeah, it's about building it up through, like, what you believe in, how tough you are mentally, the actual steps you take, and, those people you can really lean on for support.
Yeah, having that support system makes such a difference.
For sure. So it's not about pretending tough times don't exist. It's about, like, how you pick yourself up and what you learn when they do happen.
That's a good way to put it. It's that bouncing back.
Yeah. Exactly. And to really understand that bouncing back, we're going to look closely at this other resource called How to Develop a Strong Spirit and a Resilient Mindset.
Great title.
What I find really cool about this one is it's like a blend of spiritual stuff with totally practical advice. It's not just these like fluffy concepts. It brings in real stories, different perspectives, almost like a guidebook, to make you stronger from the inside out. And the way it's put together, with each chapter having the same elements, it really helps you understand and like actually use what you're learning.
I like that. It's like a framework. Makes it easier to digest.
Totally. So there are 13 chapters, and each one starts with a verse from the King James Bible, kind of like sets that spiritual tone right off the bat. And you get this inspiring quote, which a lot of times kind of broadens the idea from the verse. And then this is my favorite part, it tells a story.
Ooh, I love a good story.
Me too. And they're not just any stories, they weave together like old wisdom with modern day experiences, which is super cool because it makes these like timeless lessons feel so relevant to what we're going through now,
Yeah, absolutely. Makes it relatable.
And then to really round things out, you get either an interview with an expert, like someone who really knows their stuff, or it takes a deeper look at a part of the Bible, which is cool because you get both the practical stuff and the like theological viewpoint,
Yeah, you're getting different angles on the same idea.
Exactly. And then each chapter kind of sums everything up with a key takeaway. And this is important, a concrete action step that you can actually try out.
Oh, I like that. It's not just leaving you hanging with information. It's giving you something to do.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. So let's give you a bit of a tour through this resilience landscape, like the journey this resource takes you on.
Okay, sounds good.
So it starts by looking at like that fundamental strength that we all have inside. It even touches on, the science behind grit, that drive to keep going even when things are hard.
Grit. I love that word.
Right. And then, bam, it jumps into overcoming fear. And it does this through the lens of faith, which is really interesting. There are some super powerful stories from veterans who've dealt with PTSD, What are your thoughts on that? Like combining faith with dealing with trauma?
Well, it's interesting because I think it shows that faith isn't just some like passive belief. It can be an active tool, something that helps people heal, especially when it's combined with like real psychological understanding. And that combination can really build up resilience when you're facing, some seriously tough stuff.
Yeah. So then it moves into talking about endurance during tough times. And it uses Nelson Mandela's prison letters as an example, which is like, wow, talk about inner strength.
Oh, absolutely. If anyone knew about enduring trials.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it shifts gears and talks about developing something called a warrior mindset.
Ooh, a warrior mindset. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And this is where it brings in stuff from like Navy SEAL training, like mental discipline and stuff.
Yeah.
What comes to mind when you hear warrior mindset in this like resilience context?
It's not about like being aggressive or anything like that. It's about being mentally tough. Being able to stay focused when things are crazy and being totally committed to keep going even when you get knocked down. And the cool thing is the SEAL tactics, they're very specific, very mental strategies that you can actually use in your own life.
Totally. And then the resource goes on to talk about something we all know deep down, the importance of having a good support system, those people you can count on.
Couldn't agree more.
Right. After that, there's a chapter about how, get this, suffering can actually be turned into strength. It talks about the experiences of Joni Eareckson Tada. What makes her story so powerful when we're talking about resilience, do you think?
Well, her story is like incredible. She faced this like massive adversity, but she turned it into something amazing. It shows that even when things seem impossible, we can grow from them, become stronger. And not just for ourselves, but for others too. It's like finding meaning and purpose in the middle of pain.
Powerful stuff. Then it gets into something a lot of people don't think about. Daily routines and habits, like how those little things we do every day can actually help us become more resilient over time.
Yeah, it's like building a foundation, brick by brick.
Exactly. Chapter 8 is all about staying calm and strong in the face of huge challenges. It uses Malala Yousafzai as an example. Like, wow.
Yeah, she's amazing.
What does her story teach us about resilience?
I mean, she stood up for what she believed in, even when she was facing, like, unbelievable danger. Her story shows the power of conviction, of not backing down even when you're scared. It's like her inner strength was stronger than anything the outside world could throw at her.
Totally. Then we get into something that's kind of hard to explain. Our spiritual defenses against tough times, like that inner strength that comes from somewhere deeper.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then it goes on to talk about hope, and this is where things get really profound. It brings in the wisdom of Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust. What's the main thing we can learn from his ideas about hope and resilience?
Frankl's work shows us that even in the worst possible situations, finding meaning in life keeps hope alive. And that hope, it's what keeps you going, keeps you resilient. It's about having something to look forward to, something to fight for.
I'm getting chills. That's amazing.
It is.
So then the resource tackles something that's often really tough. Forgiveness. It uses the example of Rwanda, like how they rebuild after the genocide. Why is forgiveness so important for resilience?
Well, think about it. Holding on to anger and bitterness, it just eats you up inside. It drains you. Forgiveness, it's not about saying what happened was okay. It's about letting go of that burden so you can move on, rebuild your life.
Right. Then it reminds us to be thankful, even when things are hard. Yeah. How does gratitude, being thankful, contribute to being resilient?
Well, when you focus on what you're grateful for, even the small things, it changes how you see things. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you're looking at what's good. And that can make you feel stronger, more hopeful, even when things are tough.
Love that. And finally, it talks about how we can pass on the wisdom we've learned to others, leaving a legacy of resilience.
So cool.
So as you can see, we covered a lot. What makes this resource really special is how it brings together spirituality and practical stuff, real life stories, and advice from people who know what they're talking about. It's super down to earth and helpful.
Yeah, it's not just theory. It's here's how to actually do it.
Right. So to wrap up this deep dive into how to develop a strong spirit and a resilient mindset, let's recap. It shows that resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, like a muscle, through faith, mindset, action, and those connections with others.
Yeah, that muscle analogy is perfect. It takes work. You got to keep at it.
Totally. And it also highlights how important it is to see challenges as opportunities, not like the end of the world. And that warrior mindset is key. It's about developing that toughness, that ability to stay focused and not give up, even when it feels impossible.
And remember, you don't have to go through it alone. Having those people you can rely on, that support network, is crucial. They're like your tribe, your backup when things get rough.
Absolutely. And even when those tough times hit, which they will, the resource says we can turn pain into strength. It's like our struggles can actually make us wiser, more resilient if we let them.
Yeah, it's like alchemy, turning something difficult into something valuable.
And it highlighted the importance of those little things we do every day, those routines and habits. It's like they create this foundation of strength over time.
Small steps, consistently.
Exactly. And we all stumble, right? So the resource talks about getting back up after you fall. It's okay to mess up. What matters is that you learn and keep going.
That's what builds character, I think. Those moments where you get back up, dust yourself off, and keep moving.
Absolutely. And that's where that spiritual strength comes in, that inner compass that helps us weather the storms and find the strength to get back up.
Faith can be such a powerful source of strength and resilience.
And hope, it's what keeps us going when things are dark. It gives us direction.
Hope is that light at the end of the tunnel. And believing that there is light, that keeps us moving forward.
Then there's the tough stuff, like forgiveness.
Yeah.
Letting go of the past, it can be so hard, but it also frees us.
It's like taking off a heavy backpack you've been carrying for too long.
Perfect analogy. And even when we're struggling, it's important to remember to be thankful. Gratitude, even for small things, can change everything.
Gratitude is like a superpower, honestly. It can shift your whole perspective.
And lastly, the resource talks about sharing what we've learned, passing on that wisdom to others.
Yeah, like paying it forward.
So, what sets how to develop a strong spirit and a resilient mindset apart is that it combines all these things. Bible verses, inspiring quotes, stories from the Bible and today, insights from experts, clear takeaways, and practical steps you can take. It's super well-rounded and easy to understand.
And that format, with each chapter having the same elements, makes it really effective, I think. You get all these different angles, all these layers of understanding.
So before we go, I want to leave you with something from the resource. Resilience isn't the absence of falling. It's the sacred art of rising every time with faith as your compass. Think about what resonated with you today. Maybe it was the importance of community or the power of hope, or maybe even forgiveness. And think about one small step you can take today based on what we talked about. What's your own resilience story? What challenges have you faced, and how did you find the strength to overcome them? What wisdom have you learned that you can share with others?
That's a great challenge. It's a reminder that resilience is a journey, not a destination.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.